When news started trickling out from the set of Clayface, the upcoming R-rated DCU movie, fans immediately picked up on one detail that sent the internet buzzing. The Joker is not only part of James Gunn's rebooted universe, but he's already being teased before Batman himself makes his official debut. That's a big deal because it shows how carefully the new DCU is planting seeds for Gotham's corner of this franchise, and it also gives fans plenty of room to speculate about who might end up playing one of the most iconic villains in all of pop culture. The Clayface movie, set for release in 2026, is part of Gunn's Chapter 1 slate, Gods and Monsters. It's being described as a horror-driven installment that focuses on the shape-shifting villain Clayface, a character who has had multiple incarnations in the comics but always comes with a dark, unsettling presence. The fact that Warner Brothers and DC are willing to make a horror movie in their superhero universe already sets this project apart. But what really turned heads were set photos showing Gotham City posters with bold text reading, "Join the Joker." That phrase alone hints at the Clown Prince of Crime not just existing in this world, but actively rallying followers in his crusade against the GCPD. Now, although the poster doesn't give away who's behind the makeup, or whether the Joker will actually appear in the film, the tease is clever. It's a way to signal that Gotham already has an established Joker, even if his full story isn't ready to unfold yet. We've seen this approach before with shared universes, dropping hints and Easter eggs to build anticipation without showing the full hand right away. Because even though Clayface is the headline act in this film, fans know the Joker is always lurking somewhere nearby when Gotham is involved. This isn't the first tease either. Earlier production images hinted at graffiti referencing the Jokers, which could suggest a gang or maybe even a nod to the famous DC comic storyline where 3 different versions of the Joker exist. That opens up a bunch of possibilities for Gunn and his creative team because it shows they're not afraid to take inspiration from some of the more experimental comic arcs. Whether they go with a gang working under the Joker's orders or a reality where multiple Jokers exist, the potential for new storytelling angles is massive. But before we dive too far into speculation, it's worth remembering the context. Gunn has been clear that his DCU will blend tones, sometimes light and humorous, sometimes dark and gritty, and often both at once. That's why the Joker's eventual arrival is such a crucial test. Unlike some villains, who can fade in and out depending on the story, the Joker is tied to the DNA of Batman's world. If this version doesn't land, it risks undermining a huge part of Gotham's setup. And since The Brave and the Bold, the DCU's first Batman movie, will introduce Damian Wayne and other members of the Bat family, it's obvious the Joker will eventually need to be front and center. That's where the fan speculation really kicks in. Casting the Joker has always been one of the trickiest jobs in Hollywood because so many legendary performances already exist. Heath Ledger's Oscar-winning role in The Dark Knight is still considered one of the greatest performances in cinema, period. Joaquin Phoenix gave us a completely different but equally unforgettable Joker in Joker. Jack Nicholson put his own twisted stamp on the role in Tim Burton's Batman. Even on television, Cameron Monaghan gave Gotham fans a Joker-inspired character who was both chilling and charismatic, while Mark Hamill's voice acting defined the animated version for decades. With so many outstanding Jokers behind us, the DCU can't just repeat what's already been done. So naturally, fans have been throwing out names for who could bring something new to the role, and one actor keeps popping up again and again: Willem Dafoe. Because if there's anyone who seems born to play a deranged clown prince, it's him. Dafoe already showed audiences how terrifying he can be as Norman Osborn/Green Goblin in the Spider-Man franchise, and his manic laugh in those films feels tailor-made for a Joker interpretation. Plus, his ability to swing between theatrical madness and quiet menace would give the character the kind of depth that could fit perfectly into Gunn's darker Gotham corner. What makes Dafoe such an appealing choice is that he doesn't even need to do much to convince audiences he could be the Joker. His naturally sharp features and expressive face lend themselves to that chaotic, unsettling grin. But more than that, he's an actor who thrives in roles where unpredictability is key. Whether it's The Lighthouse, where he goes from hilarious to horrifying in the blink of an eye, or his quieter roles where menace simmers just beneath the surface, Dafoe has the range to make the Joker not only terrifying, but magnetic. Fans have even imagined scenarios where Dafoe could play an older, established Joker, maybe as the mentor to a younger version, or even as one of several Jokers if Gunn decides to adapt the Three Joker storyline. It would be a bold move, but the idea of Dafoe stepping into Gotham's chaos has captured imaginations across social media because it feels like such a natural fit. And although there's no confirmation that he's even being considered, the fan casting buzz is strong enough that it's hard to ignore. Of course, Gunn and DC Studios have other options. They could go with a completely fresh face, someone not weighed down by audience expectations, to give their Joker a totally new energy. Or they might take inspiration from Barry Coogan's version in The Batman, though that's technically set in Matt Reeves' Elseworlds continuity. Gunn has made it clear that his DCU won't be blending with Reeves' darker standalone films, so it's highly unlikely that Coogan will carry over. And since Jared Leto's version from the DCEU was widely criticized, Gunn probably wants a clean slate to establish something new. Interestingly, Peacemaker Season 2 seemed to take a subtle jab at Leto's version. In one episode, Peacemaker and Harcourt bash the band 30 Seconds to Mars, which just so happens to be fronted by Leto. It's a small detail, but it feels deliberate, almost like the DCU signaling that they're moving on from that incarnation of the Joker once and for all. So, the door is wide open for a recast, and fans are more than ready to see who steps into those shoes. The other fascinating detail from the Clayface set is the map of Gotham that includes locations like Arkham Asylum, Wayne Manor, and Ace Chemicals. That last one is especially important because it ties directly to the Joker's most iconic origin story, falling into a vat of chemicals at Ace that transforms him into the chalk-white, green-haired menace. If Gunn's DCU really leans into this origin, it could provide a classic but still fresh way to reintroduce the Joker. Because even though some versions have strayed from the Ace Chemicals setup, it's still one of the most recognizable and enduring parts of his lore. And let's not forget, the Joker story is deeply intertwined with other members of the Bat family. With Damian Wayne confirmed for The Brave and the Bold, it would make sense for Jason Todd to be part of the mix too, since Damian's inclusion often implies a broader Bat family presence. If Jason Todd is around, the infamous Death in the Family storyline, where Joker brutally murders him, could eventually come into play. That would give the DCU Joker a shocking and emotional arc right out of the gate. All of this sets up a version of the Joker who doesn't just torment Batman in Gotham, but who also fits into the bigger interconnected DCU. That's what makes this casting so tricky. It's not enough to find someone who can laugh maniacally and cause chaos in Gotham. The Joker here needs to feel like a threat who could exist alongside Superman, Wonder Woman, and other heroes. He has to make sense in a shared universe while still being uniquely tied to Batman's world. That's a tall order, but it also raises the stakes for whoever ends up landing the part. At the end of the day, these set photos and teases from Clayface show that the Joker's shadow looms large over Gunn's rebooted DCU. Even though the movie itself will focus on Clayface, it's clear that Gotham is being carefully built as a living, breathing place, full of corruption, danger, and familiar villains waiting in the wings. And as much as audiences are excited to see Clayface's twisted story on the big screen, it's the Joker who's stealing the conversation right now. Because whether it's Willem Dafoe or someone completely unexpected, fans know that this casting could define the next era of Batman stories for years to come. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.